assessment. Go ahead and bring your hips actually all the way to the edge and pull one knee back. And I'm talking all the way to the edge. I want this hip hanging off almost.
What is this one called?
Thomas test. Bring this up. Even more, man. This, you got a whole like 6 inches or so. Yeah, should almost be feeling off. There we go. Now hold this in here kind of like a little bit. Press down. I have my hand underneath your lower back. Press down for me there a little bit, just to kind of stabilize your, sort of give me a baseline to start with, and then relax here. Now that's sometimes difficult for people to do. Keep this more or less down on my hand underneath, and then relax that, relax that. And what they say here is that if it's really high, it tends to be a psoas tightness. If your foot's far out, which yours is further out than I would want, then it's a rectus femoris tightness. And if there's kind of like these rotations going on, a turning outward or a lateral type of thing, then that's your IT band. That version of the hip flexor is tight. So I'd give you a little bit of IT and a little bit of a lot of rectus femoris particularly. Go ahead and switch to the other side. And those are 2 stretches that I might want to put in your program. Now this side, I may even say, is worse than the other side in terms of it's sticking out further. There's more rectus femoris going on. So I'd rank you like, you know, on my chart I'll give you a 1 out of 3 and say we need to do a kneeling quad stretch of some sort. Thanks for the reminder. Kneeling quad stretch. All right, go ahead to the... do now the supine test, and number 1 is going to be a hip rotation. So I put your leg at about 90 and I rotate both ways, and I'm just sort of grossly estimating. Do you get about 45 and 45? And most people, or many people, will get close to 45, and you pretty much do on this one. And then many people, because of, I believe this is a chairborne society thing, they have a lot of lock in the internal rotators. It's also a pelvic floor weakness oftentimes. And so you're making it about 10 there or something like that. So you would have to do a hip 90-90 stretch would be the one to help you there. And I would focus not on the external portion, but on the internal portion. And I'll maybe explain that to you when we get there if you want. But this one makes it only about 5 on the internal rotation here. We're going to do hamstring. I now do 2 different ones. One is a straight passive one, so just let your leg relax. I'm going to be in charge here. And I'm sort of feeling for where your pelvis moves into me. So I'm feeling it here at about, I mean, we could say that that's like 45 degrees. Let me test it on the other side. Yeah, more or less the same thing. Now that's passive. You're an athletic guy, you're going to probably do well on the active one, and this will give us sort of the differences between functionally how you can actually relate in, you know, your athletics versus, you know, where your hamstrings may be prone to go, let's say, if you don't stay active. So let's see, go ahead and straighten up and keep your leg on me. Yeah, so like I suspected, you're very capable. You're passing to 80 degrees for a male and 90 degrees for a female, but you're very capable of getting there. So you don't have an acting real issue. Go ahead and do it here in terms of hamstring. So I would not give you a hamstring stretch, so to speak, at this point. Next I'll do the hip flexor. This is a, what is it called here? Supine hip flexion is what we call it. We're looking for about 35 degrees, and yes, you make it there. Do you have any pinching? Mm-hmm. Okay, so that little pinching just reflects the same rectus femoris issue that you were showing before. But otherwise, there's no need for you to stretch your hip, or no big need for you to stretch the hip here. A supine adduction. So hold out, you know, everything sort of upright vertical. Do you make it 45? Yes, you do, plenty. And adduction here, same thing as well. I'm going to do the abduction for a moment. 30 and 30. Not enough for me to say you need, you know, you're a strong candidate for flexibility. So now here, put your bottoms of your feet together. These are all inner thigh stretches again. I'm backing it up. So this is the this is sort of the secondary one that I'll do for adduction. Not enough. It's not gross enough for me to say, hey, one's off or anything like that. You look pretty flexible there. So because I see flexibility here, I assume also that the flexibility I saw on the other one seemed to be good. In terms of abduction, the one I did coming across, not enough really for me to assign a stretch for you there. Supine calf. So just go ahead and pull your foot back toward your nose. Make it about 15. That's what we're looking for, 15 to 20, and then pull that one also. That's great. and then go ahead and pull both back at the same time, just seeing if they both do the same thing, and they do. That's the same 15 and 20. Flatten your back here, arms up. Arms, keep them right here just for a moment. I'm going to flatten here. So this is also what I use as a core test for people. Keep flattening, yeah. So do you have the ability to do that? That's a good thing you do. And now keeping that there as my baseline, straighten the arms back. This is a lats test. And keep this here, keep this here. If this arches up, I have to question, is that a core weakness or is that a lat tightness? For you, I'm guessing that's a lat tightness. Your hand should go down a little bit more. Maybe left side a little greater than the right. And I would give you that that's a moderate, maybe minimal to moderate need for. First one we'll do is quad, and this gives us a little more evidence on the rectus femoris I talked about before, as well as the quad in general. That looks very good though. No pressing need. I wouldn't give you any sort of tightness issues there. I'm going to do the hip rotation again. This time this represents your rotation ability when you're standing position as opposed to like in a seated position. So arguably we could say this is maybe a little more important. And most people show a little more balance in this area, so that's a good thing. So do you make it 45 here? Not quite. Might give you more like 30 or 35. And then do you make 45 here? Definitely not, more like 20. So, you know, still some room to do the hip 90-90. Is still the stretch that I primarily give for this, but there's other ones too. So are you making 45? Again, pretty close. And on the internal, again, the same as the other side, more like 20 or something like that. So hip flexion means I'm going to hold your pelvis down and just pick up. Now there we're getting what I would have suspected from before. We should get almost 30 degrees, and you're getting maybe 2 or 3 or 4 before there's a resistance that's strong. So that should be going much easier and definitely higher. So you are especially a candidate for a Swiss ball kneeling quad stretch, or any kneeling quad stretch with a posterior tilt type of thing, so that we stretch your quads. Specifically your hip flexor quad, which is the rectus femoris. Now we're going to do the McKenzie. So hands underneath your shoulders, and press up, leaving your hips on the ground more or less. We're looking for the general sort of slope. So this is a pretty good slope. I may give you like a 2 out of 3 or 2.5 even. Do you feel a distinct pressure in one particular spot?
In the middle of my back.
In the middle, yeah. Okay, so that's fine. Sometimes people have like a crease that's across one area. You can relax. And keep your top knee on me. Arch your back a little. Arms up to the side. Top hand behind your head, and open up, nice and easy. Now this is your maybe second, I guess, if my memory serves, maybe third. Major tightness here. This is definitely major. Your rotation, this is a good one. And this is the stretch that you would do, is just practicing, and maybe I'd give you some drills to sort of breathe and use your obliques to twist open. You could even do it right now. Yeah, we could get you much further. Go to the other side now. So technically you have a major tightness there, same thing, good. Hand behind your head, open up. Keeping your knee on me here, same thing. So major tightness both ways there for you. Go ahead and put your hands here and then open up your elbows. Okay, so, I like if your elbows can even go a little behind your ears, and, because your lats are tight, I can almost assume there might be some other slight tightness, but this wouldn't get more than a minimal, if anything. And quite frankly, because your elbows are behind your ears here, I'm going to put this very low on my list in terms of need of a stretch. What to do, put your feet together, and then reach sideways down your body. Your finger should get to about the midline of the patella, which it does, and then upright, so we're sort of balancing the other side. And does it go to about the same? And it does, grossly, so we're good, and you're clear on that one. Head turns to the side, should get to about 45 degrees. I'll give you yes, it does. And then the other side, does it get to 45 degrees there? Yeah, you might have some tightness actually. Do the other side again. That one makes more to 45. Go ahead to the left side, yeah. Do you almost feel that that's a little shorter? Okay, so I might say, hey, we do need to stretch the right side more than the left on this neck lateral flexion. And now the next neck one is the rotation. Turn to one side. And that should go 80 to 90, and I'll give you a 70 to 80 or something. And then on this side, yeah, same thing. So you might have a little bit of neck tightness and along with the others. And then that is our flexibility assessment. Yay.